Hi guys, welcome to another one of my tutorials. Today I shall be showing you guys how to set up a DHCP server, followed by the introduction to group policies. Now let's get started with our DHCP server. It's really simple to set up. Start our server 2008 here, go to server manager, click roles, add roles, server roles, DHCP server. Now DHCP stands for Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. It is basically a protocol for assigning dynamic IP addresses to a device on a network. Okay, next. As you can see, it automatically reads our IP for our server here, and it gives us our parent domain and our preferred DNS server. It automatically reads it. Let's validate it. See, it's valid. By the way, the parent domain and these stuff was set up in earlier tutorials, so in case you're confused, you need to back up a couple tutorials to see how to set up your domain and whatnot. Well, next, skip next again. Now this is the DHCP scope. Basically, the scope is the range that I would like to set up for the IP addresses that I'm going to assign automatically, because DHCP is really a real handy tool. It automatically assigns IPs to any computer connected to a network. This saves a lot of time than having an administrator to go and manually configure it. Now, the scope name, you could just name it something appropriate. I'll name mine scope test for this purpose tutorial, and the IP address 192.168.1. and this is the first IP right here. I'll type in 10. This is the beginning, this is the starting IP address that will start to be leased, and the ending one I'll set it as 20, so I could put basically 10 computers on this, right? Subnet mask 255.255. dot 255.0. The default gateway, I'll set it as my server .1.1, and the amount of days you'd like to lease the IP, this range of IPs is set here. I'll put it as 6 days and hit OK. Then hit, see, our scope is set up, our range is set up here. Hit next. Disable IP, IPv6. Hit next. Use current credentials as admin. God is good, right? Hit next, and then install. Okay, our DHCP server has been installed. Close. Now, as you can see here, our DHCP server is registered. Open our roles. Okay, our DHCP server is up. Now let's start one of our machines and set it to receive the IPs from our DHCP server. Okay, I've started my Windows 7 machine here. You will come here, open Network Sharing Center, change adapter settings, right click Property, log in as administrator. V4 properties again. Obtain an IP address automatically. Obtain DNS server address automatically. Hit OK. Close. Now this client machine here will request an IP from the DHCP server, and the DHCP server will automatically assign an IP to this machine. Okay, and we will see this when we come to our DHCP server here on the roles, IPv4, scope, addresses list, and look, our first address that we assigned 192.168.1.10 is assigned to test key PC, which is the Windows 7 machine here. And if you go to our DNS server in our forward lookup zone, godisgood.com, our PC has been leased an IP automatically without having to manually configure anything. So our DHCP server is up and running well. Now, that's all basically for a DHCP server. Now let's move on to group policy objects. Basically, group policy objects limits the user on what they can do, how they can do it, and when they can do it, basically. So I will give an example of this to show what a group policy is like. Start server manager. Go to features, group policy management, forest. Open up our domain. Group policy objects. Now these are some of the default group policy objects. There's, say we want to create a new one. Say we'll do something simple as set a policy to remove the program list from the start menu. You come group policy objects, right click, new, we'll name it list programs. Okay, you come here, you edit it, come under user configuration, policies, administrative templates, start menu and taskbar. Right here, remove all programs from list from start menu. Right click properties, enable, apply. Okay. Now we can now link this policy to our domain up here. So any object under the domain, this policy will be enforced on it. Now to test this to see if it's working, we will go to one of our machines, like our Windows 7 here, and test to see for seeing our all programs. Now as you can see, our all programs is still here, and that's because our group policy update hasn't taken place as yet. So all we need to do is update our group policy, gp update, enter, updating policy. Okay, now hit start menu again, and our all programs has disappeared. Our list for all programs has gone because our policy states that user does not have permission to view it. It's disabled. So this is how to set up a group policy. Now there are many group policies here. You could keep creating and linking to a domain. You have a lot of restrictions you could put on your users if necessary. Okay, one more thing I'd like to show you guys before I go is you can implement a group policy for a particular organizational unit, and basically an organizational unit is just a container like you place users and computers in. So instead of placing your group policy at a domain level that affects everything on the domain, you can place it to a particular group. So basically you create a group, go roles, active directory domain, active directory user, it's good. Okay, right click here, hit new, organizational unit, give it a name. I'll name mine test group. Okay, now you can create a user in this, so you can add a computer or whatnot. I'll create a user, I'll name it John, last name Bob, login name jbob, next, Set a password for him. Next, finish. Now, if you come back to our features here, group policy management, forest, domain God is good, you will see our test group here. So we can place group policies within our test group, right? You can make a new group policy here now. You can name it all programs show. I'll explain why in a second. Hit OK. Edit it. User configuration again. Policies. Administrative templates. Start menu on taskbar. Remove all programs list. Properties. Disable it. Hit apply. OK. And we're taking this program, placing it in test group. So all users within this organizational unit will be affected by this policy. Now the reason why I showed it to all users is because if you place a group policy that is conflicting with one that's in the domain within the organizational unit, it will override that of the one in the domain. So in other words, the domain group policy or list programs blocks all users, all objects within that domain from being able to view all programs on the start menu. For example, here, you can't see start menu, right? But within this organizational unit test group, which has one user, John Bob, because I place a group policy within it that says it can view it, it will override that of the domain, although test group is under the domain of godisgood.com. I will demonstrate. Let me log out of this user here and log in to jbob, and I will demonstrate that it will override the group policy. In other words, this helps with management of your policies in a simple way. jbob, you can manage your organizational units away from the general population of your domain, because as you can see here, I can't see it, can't see my all programs, although I'm still under God is Good domain, as you can see here. So if you would like particular groups to have more privileges than others, you can set your group policies to allow this to take place. But if you want general group policies to shadow or overview the entire domain, you can do this also. But for your particular groups, as here, you can just override whatever the general population has, allowing certain users different access to their computers. Now that's all for group policy objects. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the tutorial.